started, the place was so damn alive with bed bugs and everything imaginable. We closed the house up and went up to the drugstore and got this stuff that we burned in a big pot, fumigated the place. So then when we came, then we really made a study of the old. I didn't know anything about the old houses. We went around and looked at all the old houses, looked at the chimneys and the windows and the doors and things like that. And we really made a serious study. I more so because I was going to do the building. Bob wasn't a carpenter at all. I wasn't a carpenter either, but at least I'd played carpentry. And so as we began to do the thing, I said, well, we've got to find the front door. Well, funny enough, the front door was on the building next door, the old front door. And I think Bill Kissenberry told us that. It was just a single panel door. And so we did things pretty close. We took some poetic license, but it took us all summer. We started in I came here in 34 in the fall, and we started in the spring of 35. And it took us all summer. And by September, we had the house finished. And Bob's sister and Georgia Townsend came out, and my mother came, and they made sash curtains, and we moved in our furniture. My mother never opposed me. I'll tell you a good story about that. In fact, she said, when I was over to Minnow Point and I didn't get home very often, I said, well, Mother, I should get over more frequently. You see, it's only 60 miles. She said, I don't worry about you. She said, you're always up in the clouds, and at least Robert Neal has his feet on the ground. So she said, I don't have to worry about you anymore. Mr. Warner, Ralph Warner, had an old house that he had restored, and he served meals. That's what gave me the bug when Bob got through when we got through with the house here. And I said, well, now we've got the house done. What are we going to do with it? Well, I said, well, you could make a food place out of it. And funny enough, within a week, Betty Cass, who had a gossip column in the Madison paper, came down to the fair, Iowa County Fair. Frank Lloyd Wright was having his Broadacre City there. And we had a little bit of, about a foot sign of antiques for sale. And everything in the house that we used, we had tags on. And so she came and she said, well, she wasn't interested in antiques, but she said, you've restored the house. And so she came in and we had a fire going in the fireplace, and we gave her tea, and Bob's sister had made saffron cake and plum preserves. And so by the time she left, she said, well, I have to get going because I'm going to meet the Wrights up at the fairgrounds. But she said, may I do she didn't identify herself. She just said she was from Madison, and she had a woman with her. And she said, but I write a column in the Madison paper. Do you mind if I write a story? Well, the next week she had 2 columns of all the things that we had done. She did a good job. And the week after that came out, we had about a dozen cars out in front that wanted to have the things that we had given her for free. They wanted to have tea. And so we called her up and she said, well, why don't you serve tea? So the first thing, we were in the tea business. I told Bob when we started out, if anybody had ever told me I was going to be in the tea business in Minnow Point, that would be the farthest thing from my mind. But that 50 cents for bread and butter and preserves and saffron cake and tea. Well, then we had the women's club with the reading club, with teachers from Dodgeville, from the area, even got as far up as Spring Green, got Spring Green